It's Ash from SuperVideos back for another video for The Walking Dead Dead City. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at the potential showdown between Negan and Maggie. Will it happen? And what good can come out of that showdown? So stay tuned, we'll be right back to break this down. Alright, as always, before we dive into it, smash the like button, subscribe to join our community, and press the bell to be notified when I upload on the channel. With that said, let's dive right into it. So of course, there was a recent behind the scenes clip that came out that showed some sort of a sequence where Maggie and Negan were fighting. Now, I'm not going to go into detail. If you're interested, go find that video yourself. And also, if you're interested to know my thoughts about it, go check out my discussion about that on the channel. But in this video, we're gonna be assuming that there is gonna be some sort of a showdown between Negan and Maggie in The Walking Dead Dead City. And I'm gonna be breaking down the good and bad out of that story. And we're gonna look at it from both perspectives. From the perspective of having a story where Maggie ultimately kills Negan, and the other way around, where Negan ultimately kills Maggie. And we're going to talk about everything that might come out of that story. And like I said earlier, we're going to break down the good and the bad. So I'm going to be talking about all of the positives and negatives. So with that, let's just jump right into it. So first, let's start with good arguments for having Maggie killing Negan. On one hand, obviously, it'll be a sort of justice story that they've been building up ever since Negan was introduced. Maggie may see killing Negan as a form of justice for the death of her husband Glenn. This would obviously make for a compelling and emotional storyline, and as part of that, there's the vengeance story. So Maggie may be motivated by revenge for the loss of Glenn and may see Negan as a symbol of everything that went wrong in her life. So having Negan die by the hands of Maggie will satisfy the justice and vengeance aspect of the story. Last, it'll be the leadership aspect. By killing Negan, Maggie may gain the respect and admiration of some other survivors and establish herself as a strong leader. So if there are people that believed in Maggie or look up to Maggie, who feel like she should do something about Negan, she's the only person that can make it right. If Maggie kills Negan, those people will look up to Maggie even more and ultimately feel like she did something that was right. She was strong enough to do it. She's a strong enough leader to be able to do something like this. She's a strong leader in that sense. Now let's look at it from the other perspective. What if we have Negan killing Maggie instead? What are some of the good arguments for this scenario? One is survival. Obviously, Negan may see killing Maggie as necessary for his own survival, especially if she poses a threat to him, or his community, or his loved ones. Obviously, something that they really focused on in the last few seasons of The Walking Dead when it comes to the Negan and Maggie dynamic is, from Negan's perspective, Negan sees Maggie as a threat. He knows she's gonna kill him. One way or another, he's gonna die by the hands of Maggie. And maybe to put a stop to that, Negan finally decides it's enough and I'm gonna kill Maggie so that I survive. And this is even more of a factor because now he has a family, he has a wife, he has a child, so his perspective may change because before those things weren't really in his mind. The next thing that could become very important is power. By killing a respectful leader like Maggie, Negan may gain more power and influence over the survivors, especially those who don't really know that much about the history. They know Negan killed Glenn, but they don't know about the details. They don't know about how it went down. And obviously, this would also bring up the question of, is Negan going back to his old ways? Which would make for a compelling story as well. The next one, which goes hand in hand with what I just said, is the moral dilemma. The scenario could explore the moral dilemma of taking another person's life and the impact it has on Negan's character development. But in one way, it is sort of going back and forth because we saw a redemption arc for Negan. So, do they really want to backtrack? Obviously, it could be a really good thing to do, but at the same time, then it undermines the redemption story. And if they do this new arc and then go back to Negan redeeming himself again, it's repetitive. That's a good segue to some of the negative impacts of these two scenarios coming about, either Maggie killing Negan or Negan killing Maggie. And to talk about this, we really need to think about the storyline of Dead City. It has been revealed that Negan and Maggie go on a journey to find Hershel Jr., who has gone missing. So we really need to keep that in mind when we think about what good can come out of Negan and Maggie having a showdown in Dead City. Again, let's look at it from the first perspective, Maggie killing Negan. The negative aspects of this are loss of a valuable ally. If Maggie kills Negan, she may lose the opportunity to use him as a valuable ally in the future. Believe it or not, whether Maggie wants to believe it or admit it or not, Negan has some very interesting and valuable skills that could be utilized to get an upper hand on their enemies. So if Maggie kills Negan, she'll be losing that skill that I don't think she can find easily. Next is a strained relationship. If other survivors see Maggie as the one who killed Negan and no way to justify it, it could lead to a strained relationship between Maggie and the people, and it could potentially divide the community. Next is the impact of finding Hershel Jr. So Maggie's focus on killing Negan could take away from the primary mission of finding Hershel Jr. and cause her to lose sight of what is most important. And also, she might lose an advantage because Negan really cares for Hershel Jr. specifically. So he would do anything to help Maggie find him. But if Negan gets killed by Maggie, then Maggie loses that close partner that she could have to search and find Hershel Jr. Now let's look at it from the other perspective, Negan killing Maggie. What are some negative aspects of this? First is loss of a leader. If Negan kills Maggie, the survivors would lose a respected and admirable leader, which could have a negative impact on the morale and unity of the community and the way that the community views Negan. Negan used to be a person who did something really bad in the past, but he redeemed himself. But now, he'll be seen as the same old monster who killed Maggie years after he killed her husband Glenn. Next is the consequences. If Negan kills Maggie, he would likely face consequences from other survivors. Ones that come to mind is Daryl. I don't think Daryl is gonna let it go. Carol, that'll be a big one. So that would be a huge deal for Negan. I don't think he would want to face those consequences. And these consequences could lead to a potential war or power struggle, which I think would be interesting, but maybe not at this stage in the game, not this far into the story with Negan, Maggie, and the survivors, especially with the redemption arc that we already saw. Last is the impact on Hershel Jr.'s search. If Negan kills Maggie, it would likely distract from the primary mission of finding Hershel Jr. and lead to a complicated and possibly dangerous situation for him. So, if Negan kills Maggie, then one, is he gonna continue searching for Hershel Jr.? And if he does find him, what's next? Is he gonna say, I killed your mom? Is he gonna just hide it? And how is that really gonna help in his story? Is Negan himself gonna be able to live with that as well? And also, I'm sure that Negan, if Maggie was by his side, would be able to bring Hershel Jr. back safely. Or it would be more likely for that to happen than if he's doing it by himself. But that's pretty much everything I wanted to go through in this video. I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, smash the like button, subscribe to join our community, and press the bell to be notified when I upload on the channel. Also, I'm definitely super interested to know your thoughts and opinions about this. One, do you think we're gonna see a sort of showdown between Negan and Maggie, which could ultimately lead to one of them dying? And do you think that's good or bad, given everything that I mentioned in this video? That's it for this video. See you next time for another super video.